Talk Teams. As the name suggests, the Teams app allows you to work together with colleagues and maybe guest users so that you can collaborate using team chats, meetings. You can have audio and video calls as well as text chats. You can share your screens and record conversations, organise meetings, which will populate your Outlook calendar, and share files and work on them together when you're working in teams. So this afternoon, we'll be having a look at all of those activities and starting with navigating the Teams page. So Teams is a cloud-based product, which means as long as you've got Wi-Fi and a device and a web browser, you can use Teams, so you can have conversations with your colleagues and work on files collaboratively without having to get your laptop out and log into a VPN to get your files or use your mobile phone to make calls. So it's like anytime, any place, anywhere. I mentioned that you could use with a web browser. So as long as your device has a web browser on Wi-Fi, so that could be a laptop, a PC, it could be a mobile phone or an iPad, a tablet, or all of those things, you can get on and chat anytime, any place, anywhere. So there's no getting away from your colleagues at this point in time when you're using Teams. So I'm just going to go into my web browser. I'm using my Barnsley College login I'm logged in as a user called ITS this afternoon. So it's not very personal, but I'm logged in as a user called ITS. In order to start Teams, I just need to click within my Office desktop, click on the Teams app to open it up. So I've already logged in and everything just to save a little bit of time with the webinar. If you're using Teams for the very first time, you might get presented when you open up the Teams app to present you with, do you want to use the web version of Teams or do you want to download the app? I've gone for the web version, so it's opened up in a web browser tab. Although I will show you shortly how you can download the app. I think you might get that from the tips on the screen. So to start with, just want to go through the elements of Teams and sort of moving around within the application. It's quite a simple window to use. And at any time, you can use the launcher in the top corner to switch from Teams to any of the other apps that you have in Office 365 or go back to your 365 desktop. There's other tools at the top of the screen there, so we can create a new chat, search for commands, and there's my login details in the top corner as well. So navigating around the window, you have this sidebar down the left-hand side of the screen. This is where you would go to select your activity within Teams. So whether you want to do a call, have a chat, or have a look at the teams that you've got set up. If I go to calls, there's then a sub-panel to choose from. So from calls, I can then decide what do I actually want to view to drill down into the detail. Do I want to see my contacts? Do I want to see the history of calls that I've made? And then the content of your selection is displayed over at the right-hand side of the screen. Now, as I mentioned, downloading the desktop app, there's an icon down in the bottom corner of the sidebar there. It looks like a little TV screen to download the desktop app. If you're using Teams on a daily basis, I'd really recommend that you download the app to your desktop. There's just a few simple steps that it'll ask you, and that's it. It's downloaded on your PC. And the benefits of this is, once you've downloaded Teams, Windows will add it into your startup menu. So the next time you switch your PC on and log on, Teams will open up automatically. So I know it's no hardship opening a web browser and logging in, but it even saves you having to do that. It just opens up automatically. No need for a browser, no need to sign in. You can do that straight away. And just like accessing Teams, you can download that device onto a PC, a laptop, a tablet, a mobile phone, or all of those things so that you can access Teams any way you please. Just one thing about availability. In the top right-hand corner, you'll have your icon. I haven't got a great icon at the moment. It's just got an I, my initials as ITS, who I'm logged on as. There is a small green icon in there with a tick in it, which is telling my colleagues that I'm available. So if they want to give me a call or send me a chat message, they'll be expecting a response. Now, if you're busy, so for example, I'm delivering a webinar at the moment, you can always change your availability to do not disturb. And it says at the top, your status is do not disturb. You'll only get notifications for urgent messages. Doesn't stop people trying to phone you though, I've found, regardless of how it's set. You can change it to busy or available. Now these settings will change automatically. So when you're on a call, your setting will change to busy. If you finish the call, it'll go back to available. If you're presenting, so in a meeting, it will change to do not disturb. And be right back appear away if you haven't used a keyboard or the system for a while. So I'm just going to set my availability back to available. So what's this idea of Teams all about then? So I'm just going to select the Teams activity at the left-hand side. The idea of Teams is for organisations to create groups of people that work together on specific parts of the business, like having a team for each department, having a team for projects, having a team for specific meetings. And one person might belong to many teams. I've only got the one team in here at the moment, but we will be having more. What's lovely about Teams is you only see the teams that you're a member of. So the panel of teams that you can see here is not cluttered up with a whole load of teams that you can't get into. All you see is the teams that are available to you. So there will be more, you just see the ones that you have available. Now, when you're working with Teams, the team itself, if you click on it, all it does is expand and collapse the entries below it. Each team is then divided into what Microsoft call channels. So underneath the training team, I have a channel called General. And if you think about channels as almost like folders that you'd organise your team activities in. So in the training team, we might have IT course training, or we might have business skills training, training rooms, laptops, software, a whole different host of channels sitting below our training team. Each team might work on different projects, so you could have different channels for each of those. Now I'm going to show you how you can add additional teams, but just one thing I will say before I go and show you this is Teams is very much a permissions-based program, in that in order to perform a command, you have to have permission from your team's administrator. So I'm going to demonstrate how to create a team. You might not be able to do this within your organisation. And this is just so that it keeps the Teams panel nice and neat, not overcomplicated, and no repetition. So instead of having training team and team training, both doing the same thing, it keeps it nice and organised for your organisation. So to create a team, just from the bottom of the Teams channel, I'm going to join or create a team. Now I will say I'm using a Barnsley College login here. So it's the education version of a team. So yours may look slightly different, like you may not have assignments at the side, and you may not have all of these teams to work with. So to join or create a team, I'm presented with, and you probably just get 3 options in here. I can either create my own team, I can join a private team, but if it's a private team, I'm going to need a code. And your third option will probably to join a public team, so you can just get into a public team if there's no codes or any restrictions on it. Well, I want to create a team, so there we go, let's create a team. And again, the options that you get here will vary slightly in your implementation of Teams to the ones that you can see here. But basically, it's asking me, do you want to use an existing team as a starting point for your new team, or do you want to start one from scratch? So I'm going to go for other. I'm going to start one from scratch, and it just needs a few bits of information from you before the team's created. So what's your team name? We'll call it Daily Webinars. The description in here just lets the people within the team know what the purpose of it's for, so they have an idea of the type of information that they should be storing in the team. And the privacy settings, so who do you want to be able to access this team? Is it a private one, so only the team owners and members, or is it a public one, so anybody can join it at any time? This isn't too private, so I'm going to allow anyone in our organisation to join. Next, it's going to need to know who the sort of like the initial team members are. And it gives me an instruction. It says just start typing the name. But it also says you can add guests by adding their email addresses in. So you can actually add guests such as subcontractors or freelancers so that they can work on the teams with you. So I'm going to start adding me, as in Joe. I've got another PC set up at the side of me here with my login details. So that would be me. Add me in as a team member, and then you continue until you have all the members. Delete them if you've added them by mistake, and when you're happy, click close. So there we have our daily webinars team, and underneath we have a channel called General. As a starting point, you automatically get a channel called General. So once you've created the team, you can go back and manage the team members again at any time, again, providing you've got permission to do so. Anybody, though, can have a look at the members of the team. So anytime you see in Teams 3 dots, either horizontal or vertical, it means there's more options, more actions for you to choose from. So next to the team, more options, and I'm going to have a look at Manage Team. So even if I don't have permission to add members to the team, depending on what we're doing, this is really handy to find out who the team owner is. Because if you needed any changes set in, you might need to go to this person to say, it'd be a good idea if we had X or Y or Z within the team so that we can work on it. It's also nice to know who the members and the guests are within the team so that you know who you're sharing your details with. So we had a look at the teams and the ellipses, and we had that one channel to work with, or if you think about it as a folder. You can create as many channels as you want, providing you've got permission, to work in with to organise the activities within your team. So again, going back to the team, I'm going to use more options, and I'm going to add a channel. You'll know if you don't have permission because the option to add a channel won't be there. Give the channel a name. Give the channel a description so that others know the type of information that they're supposed to put in here. We'll put some stuff in. And I just want standard accessibility for everyone in the team. So all those members that we saw, they can all access this. Quite nice as well just to automatically show this channel in everyone's channel list, and I'll show you why. So I am going to tick that option and add the new channel. Okay, so the main webinars channel appears here and for all the other members of the team. Now you can hide channels, and if I hadn't have ticked that last box to automatically display it, then all the members of the team would have had to have clicked on the channel and chose to display it, to unhide it if you like. So it is worth just ticking that last little box. So each channel, so I've got my May webinars channel selected here, can store different content in it. So there's not much content at the moment in the right hand side of the screen, but in my May webinars channel, across the top, I can see that I can have posts or conversations in here using the different channel tab. And I can also share files with the members of the team. It's up to you which tabs and the type of content that you want to work on. So just using the plus sign, you can add different apps into here. So for example, you might want to add a wiki tab, call it wiki, and save. A wiki is just like a quick web page, so you might use this for notifications and things, or news items that you work with your team. But it's up to you, the tabs that you need, and if it was up to me, I would just have the tabs that I need, and if I don't need them, I don't really want to see them because it's just overcomplicating things. So if you've added a tab within the channel, you can always use the drop down arrow and remove it. Are you sure? Yes, remove it. Don't need the wiki tab. Not within my team anyway. We can always go and add it in later. Likewise, channels can be deleted. So if I no longer need the May webinars, I can delete this channel if you've got permissions. It will ask, are you sure? And the reason it asks me that is because it's going to delete everything that's in the channel as well. And similarly, you can delete the team and everything that sits below it. Again, providing you've got permissions to do so. Now, when you're working with email messages, you get notifications on your screen and beeps and things to let you know a new email has arrived. With Teams, it's a good idea to have to set your notifications for the teams that you're working in a regular basis, just so that you don't miss anything. You can always turn them on later, but you should get a notification when you first start Teams about notifications, and you can switch them on there. So in order to switch notifications on for my May webinars channel, I'm going to use more options and have a look at channel notifications. Now, initially, when you first start working with Teams, you turn notifications on for everything, and then you quickly get to a point where you realise you don't need notifying about everything because it's just too much. So then you go and switch them back off again. Standard, it's always the same, isn't it? So at the moment, I want to know about all new posts. So I want a banner and I also want a feed. A banner is like a little pop-up that you get, like you get on your phone. And I also want to be notified about replies as well as new messages and any at mentions. So those of you that use social media where you get the little at symbol before a person's name, so they've been mentioned. Yes, I want to be notified about those as well and save the changes. As I mentioned, if you find that you're getting too many notifications, you can always go back to the channel and go into the channel notifications and turn off the notifications that are no longer required for you, and then save. So those notifications that you get, you will see in activity. So if you've been away from your desk, or you've been on the mobile phone or using another app, and you've missed a chat or you've missed a call, they will appear in activity, and you'll get little icons as well on the areas within Teams that you've missed. So your activity will let you see what you've missed. So at the moment, I can look at feeds or my activity. So my sent messages here. I haven't done many sent messages, obviously, so I'm going to go back to my feeds. This gets pretty quick, pretty full, pretty quick when you start using Teams, particularly in lockdown, because this Teams is almost like your shout across the office, things where you'd ask your colleague, how do I do so and so? You'd use Teams to do that. So my feeds, once this gets a bit fuller, you might find that you want to filter this activity, and using the options, you could say, all I want to know is about missed calls. That's all I want to see. Just tell me who I've missed calls from. You can clear a filter and apply another one at any time, or switch to your activity. So that's a little bit about the structure of Teams, how it works, the areas within the system. So what I want to do now is have a look at conversations that you can have with your colleagues in a team. Just bear with me 1 second, there's a question. Mark, I think I'll get back to you on that one, and maybe send you a private message on that one, or maybe we'll have a discussion. So having a look at team conversations, you have what are called chats or posts, if you like. So in my May webinars, I'm on the posts tab, and that's the default tab to go to. And right down at the bottom of the screen, I can simply click to start a new conversation. As this is Microsoft, you can always highlight some text and use the icons underneath to maybe apply some formatting, basic formatting that you're likely to see. You can attach files that we'll come back to later. You can also attach emojis, quite a lot of emoji faces. Stickers that you can put in. So these are a little bit bigger, so I don't know if it's somebody's birthday, you might want to attach a sticker. You can also use the Meet Now feature for the team or stream videos. The praise is like it's a bit like a sticker, but it's like, well done, you're awesome. I'll put an optimist one in. Okay. And send that through. So just going back to the bottom, when you finish typing your notification, your post, you can either press enter or to the right of the conversation, press the little arrow button. Okay, and that's that message gone to everybody within the teams. And if they get notifications set up, they'll get to see them. Any replies that come in, let me just reply to that message. So Joanne Dixon has said yes. And you can reply to that reply and so on and create a conversation thread. As with any message, sort of like with social media, you can react. So by hovering over the message, you can add reactions, a little emojis, so that instead of replying, just putting a little icon on. And using at mentions down at the bottom, by typing the at symbol and then starting to type somebody's name, you get a suggested list of people and you just select their name from the list. That will appear as mentions in their activity, even if they aren't part of this chat. Now the chat that we've got here, this chat that we've got going on, bearing in mind it's within the May webinars channel that sits under daily webinars, so everyone in that team will be able to see and contribute to the conversation here. If you're wanting a private chat, a one-on-one, then we can go to the chat area of Teams. Within chat, you can either display your recent chats or you can have a look at your contacts. I've got no contacts in here at the moment. So it's a good idea really to spend a few minutes just to set your contacts up, and then you can use them again later. So there is one group called Favourites, but at the bottom of the panel, I'm going to create a new contact group. Give it a name and press create. Once you have your group set up, you can use the ellipsis and add a contact to this group. And continue until you have all the contacts in there that you need. So it's a good idea just to set your contacts up. Okay, so to start a private chat, select the person that you want to chat with, type a message, and either enter or press the little arrow to send the message. Just going to add a couple more people into here, just so that I can demonstrate something to you. So I'll add Joseph, and I'll also add Sue. Okay. So from the chat panel, you might be familiar with email messages where you can select one or a group of email messages. For example, if you want to delete them. If you're wanting a chat with more than one person, it's not possible to use the shift key to select a group of people. All it does is select the last person and ignores your shift key. Similarly with your control key, it doesn't take any notice of shift and control, and it just selects the person that you've clicked on. So I'm going to have a little conversation here with Joseph, but I also want to add Sue in. So just looking in the top right hand corner of the chat window, so Joseph's already going to get the chat, he's highlighted. In the top right hand corner of the chat window, I'm going to add people, enter Sue's name, and add Sue into the chat. And I can just confirm up at the top, there's 2 people, so the icon, the circle is displayed in half, and it's going to include Joseph and Sue. Really serious chat, really important chat, this one. What are we having for tea? There's people that are in your chats then, if we have a look in the recent list. If I wanted to chat with Joseph and Sue again, I've already used those 2 people, so I can simply select their name and continue with that chat. If you've been included in a chat and you do often think, why am I in this? It's got nothing to do with me. You can always leave the chat, and then you won't get the notifications popping up, because they can be quite annoying if it's nothing to do with you. Now, my recent chat here doesn't resemble my real life chat at all. My real life chat is, the list is extortionate. As I say, in these lockdown times, this is almost like you chat across the room. As a message from Joseph. So just a quick question: how do I do this? Where's so and so? That you would normally ask your colleagues, and then you have your contacts all organised in various different groups according to your own requirements. If you want to start a chat with somebody who's maybe you haven't had a chat with them before, they're not in recents, they're not a contact, and you don't really want to add them as a contact, up at the top of the screen there's a new chat button. And to be honest, you can press this at any time. You don't have to go to, let's just go to calls, for example. You can press that at any time, new chat, start entering the person's name, and send the chat through. So you can add people to chats, you can leave chats, set up your contacts, you can have a look at your recents. You can also use this to start audio and video calls. So chat's fine if you've just got a little bit of something to say, but if you want to have a proper conversation, in the top right hand corner of your screen, you can start an audio call or a video call with the person. So I'm going to start an audio call with the selected person here. Don't forget you can add people as well. So I'll wait for Joanne Dixon to answer. Nope, not having it. Okay. Let's try that again. Sorry. So just audio call. There we go. So just muted that one, just because it does get quite loud. When you're working in a chat or a video call, you get to see on your screen either your video or the other person's video. And you also have this little toolbar that shows you how long you've been on the call. You can turn your camera on. Now, I can't turn my camera on because it's already been used by GoToWebinar, but it would literally be that easy. You can mute yourself. So, for example, if you needed to answer a call, you can mute yourself, take the phone call, and then unmute yourself when you're ready. You can also share content of your screen. So my screen, if you think about it, is already being shared in the GoToWebinar, but you can either choose to share your desktop or you can choose to share individual files. So I'm not able to demonstrate that very well here because I'm already sharing, if you like. When you are sharing your screen, the share icon will have a little cross sign in it, and you can press that to stop sharing. And when you're sharing with somebody else, at the top of the screen, there's another little toolbar that will allow you to give control to somebody else or request control if they're displaying something. Really handy, you've got more actions. So if you're in a call or a meeting, for example, you might want to record it so that you don't have to make copious notes about the meeting. Put people on hold or use a keypad if you haven't got a screen in front of you. If you're giving factual data within a conversation, it might be quite nice to start the conversation notes. So if you're giving a telephone number, for example, just to confirm the number so that people don't forget it, type the number in and you can close out of the chat panel. You can also add additional people into your chat, so you can show participants and add additional people in. And when you've done, you can hang up. That's it, call done. That will appear in my calls in the history, so I can see how long I was on the call, who I was on the call with, and any additional details. So from chat, if you wanted to start an audio call, it's exactly the same toolbar. You just press the audio call button instead of the normal call button. The call section of Teams, you can set up your speed dials. So anybody in the speed dial will appear at the top of the list. These groups that you set up when you were in chat will feed through into calls as well. And you can keep going. You can create new groups in here and add people to those groups so they speak to each other. You can have a look at your contacts as like a one long contact list and add additional people in. Your call history and also any voicemail messages that you've received, so you can just play the voicemail message. Okay, just going to have a look at the calendar now. Calendar, great for organising meetings. I've got somebody here who says they don't have the calendar feature. How do I get this? And also, does it limit to seeing 4 people at a time? It depends on your screen size with limiting to see how many people at a time. With regards to the calendar, I've had the same issue myself, and you might need to speak to your Teams administrator. There's a Teams admin excuse me, a Teams admin page, if you like, where you can switch features on and off. Excuse me, so your administrator might need to go back into that Teams admin page and make sure that the calendar is switched on for everybody. So Katie, that might be just something that you want to check internally. But the meetings that you can put into Teams, you basically select the day and time, and all I've done is going to click and drag basically, and I'm just going to let go of my mouse because straight away it creates me a meeting. So in Outlook you can do the same on a double click, and in here it is literally just a single or a click and a drag. So the meeting invitation needs details just like Microsoft Outlook does. So add a title for the meeting. Any required attendees. And you can also add optional attendees if you wish. You would just check, and if you need to change the meeting start and end date and time. Like you can in Outlook, you can have recurring meetings, so this one's not going to repeat. If you would like this to appear in a channel so that everybody knows about it, you can choose the channel. So I'll put it in my May Webinars channel. Add a location, which I'm going to leave blank because it's going to be a Teams meeting, not going to be going anywhere for the next few days or weeks. And any meeting notes. In order to make sure you've got the date and time right, just like Outlook, you have a scheduling assistant where you can make sure that the person or people that you've invited in between the meeting start and end times is free. So there's no details for these users from this training account, but normally you would be able to see if somebody's free or not. So switching between details and scheduling assistant and send that through. Let's try again. Okay, temperamental. So we have a meeting there. If you don't want to go through the whole setting up a meeting and putting the details in, if it's something that's a little bit more urgent, you can just choose to meet now, join the meeting yourself, and when you're in the meeting, you can start adding attendees in. I'm just going to leave that meeting. So back in the calendar, this calendar entry will have put an entry in my Outlook calendar as well. So in Outlook, you can just simply have a look at your calendar entry, open up the appointment, and there'll be a hyperlink to click on. Alternatively, within Teams, you can just click to join the meeting and make changes from here. But I would like to join the meeting and join now. You get the standard toolbar down at the bottom of the screen for sharing, for adding people. And when you're done, hang up. Just a point to note, when you're working with Microsoft Outlook, for example, going to my actual Outlook calendar, if you're inviting somebody to a meeting who actually doesn't work at your organisation, you can highlight some time in your calendar, and on your ribbon up at the top of your screen, you should have an option to organise a new Teams meeting. This way you can invite people who aren't part of your organisation. The invitation will go into their Outlook calendar, and when the time comes around, they can join the Teams meeting just like you do. So they can share their webcam if they want to, audio, and it just means you've got that functionality of Teams without adding the members in. So I'm not going to save this, without adding the members in to Teams and their external people. So one last thing I'm going to show you within Teams is files. We haven't really looked at files as working with them in Teams. So for collaborative working, I'm going to go back to Teams. And in my May webinars, there's two different ways that you can get documents into your team, share them with your team. You can either just use the attachment button, so in a new post or a new conversation, attach a file. And I'm going to upload from my computer, my desktop. We'll have Cadbury World. Don't think there's much in that one, but once the link is finished, send the message through, and that's it. That file is now shared within your team. So if I have a look at the Files tab, that document is here for us all to work on. We can work collaboratively. So that was from the Post tab, just simply to put in an attachment. But from the Files tab, you can either create new documents or you can upload from here as well. So again, I can upload files, and we'll go for beans this time. Give it a second and the document is there for you. So with regards to collaborative working on documents, this is where Teams just surpasses what you can do in Microsoft Word. So this beans document, I'm going to click on it to open it. So first of all, it opens it up in display only. But I would like to edit it. I would like to make some changes to it. And if you create a document within Teams, and you can work collaboratively on it with other people, and you can see their changes that they're making. But the version of the Office application that you get is like a watered down version. So it looks very much like Word. Got most of the useful things that you'd use on there. And any changes that you make the other person or people editing will get to see this immediately. I can see that Joanne Dixon is signed into this, not making any changes at the moment, but you do get little notifications on your screen, little tags to let you know the initials of who is working on what part of the document. So all those instances where you're phoning people up or saying, can you close that document? I need to work on it. No need to do that now. You can all work on it together. And don't worry if you're worried about the document becoming lost over time. So I'm just going to close out of this one and edit it again. So if you're worried about other people maybe messing your files up, don't worry about it. All of these files, if I click on the File tab and have a look at Info, the system automatically creates this version history. So you can have a look at the versions, how the document's grown over time. And if you want to, you could select a version and save a copy of it to revert back to that version. So there's just a little bit on Teams, and I'm going to close out that tab, and I'm closing out of the viewer to go back into the documents. So those are just in the Files tab. Just an important note for how Teams actually works, where are the files actually stored. Each team that you create within Teams, for each team, a new SharePoint site is created. So SharePoint is like the big daddy, it's like the back end, if you like, and that's where all the information is actually stored. So you use Teams for the communication, but everything's actually stored in SharePoint. And within SharePoint, for each of these channels that you have within a team, they're displayed as folders within SharePoint, and that's where your documents are stored. So it's got all the functionality of SharePoint, all the security measures that SharePoint has. And to get into SharePoint, I've selected my May Webinars channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen, the ellipsis, I can open in SharePoint. So Daily Webinars was the team I created earlier on today. I can see in my May Webinars folder, there's the 2 files that I uploaded. And if I go back to Documents, there was a general channel or a general folder when you're working in SharePoint, or May Webinars when you're working in SharePoint. So these in SharePoint can also almost be used as like a document management system. So where you would use Teams to work on a file for a short period of time, and then probably don't look at it again and it just moves down the list, SharePoint can then be used as like a document management so that you can go back to documents that you've maybe created many, many months ago or weeks ago or even years ago. We do have a webinar that talks a little bit more about using files and collaboratively working on files across OneDrive and Teams and SharePoint and how all 3 interact. This is just to give you an idea of how you can work collaboratively on files directly from Teams. So I think from what we'd set out to do today, and just conscious of time that I don't want to run over the 45 minutes, I just want to ask, has anybody got any questions? Can you use the little chat panel at the right to have any if you have any questions? So Katie, can I just ask, did that answer your question about speaking to your administrator? And Mark, I think I'm going to respond to that one personally. That Katie, that answers your questions. Does anybody else have any questions from today? Okay, how do you retrieve a recording? So once you've been recording a meeting or a conversation, you will get a notification telling you where it's stored. And what also important, everybody that's involved in the meeting or call, they will see a notification up at the top of the screen to let them know that you're recording. I think it has to do that for GDPR purposes. Also, so you can watch your language, I suppose, if you're being recorded. But yeah, you get that notification to grab the recording. It'll let you know. Okay, somebody's mentioned about this webinar being recorded. Yes, it is. Can I bring up my webpage? All our webinars are accessible via our website. If I just log on to Smart Styles website, hover over courses, and in the daily digital digest webinar recordings, there's all the future webinars that you can sign up to and all historical recordings. They're all in date order. So yesterday's is at the top. Tomorrow's will be available in here at the top, probably after about 10 o'clock. We might be putting some more webinars on in May as well, so look out for these registration links. Well, if that answers your questions, you know how to get in touch with me. Please just do drop me a line. Thank you for joining, and I hope you all do stay safe and keep well, and hopefully see you on another webinar. So thank you very much. Bye.